Feast of Fools was a popular medieval festival celebrated primarily in France, and it took place during the Christmas season, typically between December 28th and January 1st. The festival was characterized by its role reversals and satirical performances, which included mockery of church officials and other forms of social inversion. The origins of the Feast of Fools can be traced back to the early medieval period, although its precise beginnings are somewhat obscure. It is believed to have evolved from earlier pagan traditions and celebrations that featured similar themes of reversal and merriment. These pagan customs were gradually incorporated into Christian practices as the Church sought to absorb and transform local traditions. During the Feast of Fools, lower-ranking clergy members, such as subdeacons, choir boys, and other minor ecclesiastical figures, took on the roles of their superiors. They would dress up in the vestments of bishops, priests, and other high-ranking church officials, often in a deliberately exaggerated and comical manner. This inversion of roles allowed for a temporary subversion of the strict hierarchical order that dominated medieval society, providing a rare opportunity for lower-ranking individuals to mock and criticize those in power. The festival included a variety of activities that combined elements of the sacred and the profane. Participants would engage in parodies of religious services, complete with absurd and irreverent prayers, sermons, and hymns. The mock liturgies often featured humorous and sometimes obscene language, as well as gestures and actions that would have been considered blasphemous under normal circumstances. This playful desecration of sacred rituals was intended to entertain and amuse, but it also served as a form of social commentary and criticism. In addition to the mock religious services, the Feast of Fools featured processions, masquerades, and theatrical performances. These events often took place in and around the cathedral or church, blurring the lines between the sacred and the secular. Participants would wear masks and costumes, adopting the personas of various characters, including animals, devils, and mythical creatures. These disguises allowed for a greater degree of freedom and anonymity, enabling individuals to express themselves more freely and to engage in behavior that would normally be frowned upon. One of the most famous elements of the Feast of Fools was the election of a Lord of Misrule, or Bishop of Fools. This individual, usually chosen from among the lower clergy, was granted temporary authority to preside over the festivities. The Lord of Misrule would lead the processions and oversee the mock ceremonies, embodying the spirit of the festival with their antics and jests. Their reign was marked by a sense of chaos and disorder as they turned the usual social order on its head. Despite its popularity, the Feast of Fools was not without its critics. Many church officials and moralists condemned the festival for its irreverence and perceived blasphemy. They argued that the mockery of religious rituals and figures undermined the sanctity of the church and could lead to a general decline in piety and moral behavior. Efforts to suppress the festival were made at various times, with mixed success. Some church councils issued decrees against the Feast of Fools, and certain bishops and archbishops took measures to curb its excesses. However, the festival proved to be resilient, and it continued to be celebrated in various forms throughout the medieval period. Its enduring popularity can be attributed to its ability to provide a release valve for social tensions and frustrations. By allowing a temporary inversion of roles and a space for satire and criticism, the Feast of Fools offered a way for people to cope with the rigid hierarchies and constraints of medieval society. In the later Middle Ages, the Feast of Fools began to decline in prominence, partly due to increased efforts by the Church to enforce stricter standards of decorum and piety. The rise of the Renaissance and the Reformation also contributed to changes in attitudes towards such festivals, as new cultural and religious movements emphasized different values and forms of expression. Nevertheless, the spirit of the Feast of Fools lived on in other forms of popular culture, such as carnivals, masks, and theatrical performances, which continued to explore themes of inversion and satire. Today, the Feast of Fools is remembered as a fascinating example of medieval festive culture and its complex relationship with authority, religion, and social norms. It highlights the ways in which people in the past used humor, play, and role reversals to navigate and negotiate the structures of power and belief that shaped their lives. The festival's legacy can still be seen in modern celebrations that embrace similar themes of parody, inversion, and communal revelry.